Welcome to the Team GPT podcast. I am your host, Syed Hader. That's Brian over there. Brian, say what's up.
What's up?
All right, Ryan over here, he fucking owns the podcast, dude. Crazy.
Yeah.
Every time. And today's guest, an integral member of Team GPT. You know, whatever. Big deal over here. Right? Dr. Robert Ambrose.
Dr. Robert
Ambrose.
What's going on?
All right, Bobby. Tell us a little bit about yourself, sort of how long you've been at the gym, sort of what competitions you've been in. Yeah.
I've probably been here about 4 years now. Ryan made a post in the Yukon powerlifting group. I pretty much slid into the DM. Hit him up. That's not even a lie. I messaged him and said, hey, I'm looking to do some competitions. He said, come down to the Ansonia gym. This was back at the, not the garage, but the big warehouse.
Yeah, the old place.
The old place. Then I did my first competition up in Revere with Corso and Lauren. I beat Corso, of course. And
you should probably speak up a little too.
Yeah,
a little quiet.
Yeah. Speak up, man.
Speak up.
Project. Got
involved with powerlifting. Competed for probably about 2 or 3 years. Did nationals. Went out to the Arnold, and then recently has made the switch over to Olympic weightlifting. That's pretty much it.
I mean, but that's not all. You are a PharmD or
PharmD, so doctor of pharmacy.
Right.
Yes.
So, well, today we're going to talk about sort of your expertise in that pharmacy field and trying to understand how people should view supplements and sort of what they actually do, because there are a lot of people that go to GNC and they're all like, you should get this, knowing that they probably just make a commission off of it, or they just don't know what they're saying, like, oh, that's cool, right? As a pharmacist, right, and someone who knows a lot about chemical compounds, right, when you go to these places to get supplements, right, how does your sort of approach, or what sort of changes now that you know how certain things work?
How does it change?
Yeah.
I don't know if it really changes. I mean, you get a couple that have a lot of data to back. There's a very few supplements where there's data to actually back it up. Now you go in, you see everything's like proprietary blend. You have no idea what you're getting. They get extracts from, there's green tea extract, and there's like extracts from plants and stuff you've never heard of. Should I speak louder?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little louder. So I don't have a lot of expertise as far as like herbs and things like that, but as far as GNC, a lot of that crap doesn't work. I mean, you got your creatine monohydrate. Don't go in there and let them convince you that their new balanced pH creatine is any better than creatine monohydrate. You got beta-alanine, which has a lot of evidence, citrulline malate, and then of course caffeine. So I don't know if my views really changed. I mean, it's all crap. Pretty much. It is. That's what it is. If you want something that works, take pro hormones, right? Because you get down to the nitty gritty, those are actually steroids, right? They are.
Yeah.
They're steroids.
It's the big five now. It's all
big
steroids.
Yes, the steroids. Pro hormones, right? They work. The FDA comes in, bans them. They change a few products, change the name, they come in. For people that don't know, GNC and supplements are not regulated by the FDA, so we can go cook some up back here, throw it on the shelf, and it's up to the FDA to go in and check it out. We don't have to get it approved like many pharmaceutical drugs have to go through an approval process before being sold to consumers.
We are not suggesting pro hormones.
Don't
That's
say
a big disclaimer on the bottom of the screen.
Is that something we're gonna cut?
No, Bobby, we're going live.
We're live.
But yeah, so you used to be a powerlifter. A good one.
That was all right.
He was a good powerlifter.
Every time. Top 5 in the country made the Arnold. Yes, that's good.
Yeah, so he's a good powerlifter. Why transition into Olympic lifting?
Why? So I can lower my expectations. I don't have to try as hard. Why the transition? I don't know. I guess I was coming in powerlifting every day, training. I wasn't enjoying the training anymore. It was sucked. No, I think I just kind of burnt myself out, and I wanted some kind of change. So I came over to the Olympic platform, started fooling around. You know, a lot of people. Ryan said, "You want to suck at 2 sports now?" I said, "We'll give it a go."
Got to keep the ego in check.
Got to keep that ego in check always. Really, I just wasn't enjoying powerlifting anymore, and I kind of fooled around with Olympic lifting, and just fell in love with it, I guess. It's like a whole different mindset. It's a different sport.
I mean, you just recently competed. We talked about sort of Ryan's mindset going into it. I'm pretty sure you heard that podcast.
I did.
Right.
How it trashed me about cutting weight.
Which now they changed the weights.
But the big disclaimer on that is like I used to walk around at 69 kilos. So the reason for cutting is to get back down to that weight class.
And now what do you walk around at?
I'm probably about 70, 71 right now.
Perfect. 73, new class. Got it.
Perfect.
Do you find weightlifting to be more enjoyable training-wise than powerlifting, or is it because it's so relatively new that you aren't enjoying anything, or?
Well, if you watch me on a day-to-day basis,
Because I watch you a lot.
you would think I probably hate the sport.
I mean, it's kind of hard not to watch you, given the fact that the Olympic platform is literally in the middle
Probably
of the
another
gym.
reason why I'm going to weightlifting is
Because you want attention.
I want attention.
Yeah.
I'm like on center stage here. Not a lot of other people do it.
True.
I want all attention on me. So that's another reason why. Over there, no one can watch me.
Part of the
over there.
pack.
What was the question? Do I find it more enjoyable?
Do you find it more enjoyable?
I
Do you
do.
find one harder? Do you find... I know the common thing is that weightlifting is traditionally more of a... I don't say frustrating, but it's more... It seems to be more monotonous in training, that it's more technique-driven, so...
It is more technique-driven. I don't want to say I don't want to say I'm biased, but I think it is a harder sport. Anybody, you can see.
No, it is. You're right.
You can see anybody, right? Not to say that powerlifting does not involve technique, because of course it involves a lot of technique. But I think anybody can come in and you can pretty much teach anybody how to squat, bench, and deadlift, right? I don't know if you can teach everybody how to snatch or clean and jerk. I think you have to have. Well, you have to get the mobility, but I think you have to have some kind of athleticism. Would that be fair to say? No.
Because we shit on every powerlifter. No, I know what you're saying. I mean, and we talked about this in the podcast where we talked about weightlifting. I said I started with weightlifting after baseball and then went to powerlifting after I got hurt and I couldn't weightlift anymore. Just having the mobility to be overhead, the athleticism to move quickly to get into some of these positions. And you talk about this like with the meet that you just did. I think you were surprised at how many people were doing the meet that were just doing power versions.
Right.
Because that's the difference in weightlifting. You can just, maybe you're not athletic enough or maybe you're not mobile enough to catch a snatch in the hole and be able to stand up with it, but you can just power snatch.
Right.
But in powerlifting, if you're not mobile enough to hit depth, you bomb out of the meet.
You're done.
So weightlifting gives those people that don't have all the requisite abilities to rock bottom a snatch and stand up with a big weight, they can still compete.
Gives you a cop out.
Or like in powerlifting, if you can't hit depth, you're out. You're done. So you can still power snatch or power clean.
Right. Exactly.
And still be in the meet, which I think allows more people to do it, but that doesn't mean that they're going to do it at a higher level.
Correct.
Your first meet, you did, you full snatch and full clean. But how many people?
There were a ton of people that were just powering everything.
And I think you were surprised by that because you're expecting. You knew so much of just you being here and you being able to do those movements and doing them pretty well right off the bat that I think you expect other people to do that same thing. And I said, when you go to powerlifting, everyone's basically at the same technical rules. Like you have to hit depth, but if you want to power snatch, go ahead. Who cares? And that changed it a lot. So
I think we should get more people to compete as well. Anybody watching this, you don't have to full snatch or full clean and jerk. You just power.
But that's what I'm saying. I think most people find the biggest problem in Olympic lifting is getting into that bottom position with the bar overhead and the snatch.
Yeah.
Most people don't have the mobility to get into that position or the stability to stay in that position and not lose the bar.
Right.
but that doesn't stop you from competing.
Correct.
So there's so many, like, ability is not the right word because, you know, people are obviously lifting more weight. And there's people that power snatch more than people that full snatch. Like,
Of course. A lot of like,
because they're just
athletes.
stronger. Yeah, there's some great athletes that you're like, wow, I can't believe they're doing that, even though it's not the full movement.
Right.
So it allows more people to do it, and you've just got that technical differences. I'm not sure if the change of ability is the right word. It's just,
I think most people can learn like a clean and jerk or the full clean. The snatch is really where you run it to.
I think, like,
I would say the other way. I think it's probably easier to teach someone to snatch before clean and jerk.
I think so.
Especially if you're talking to someone who's a little less mobile, like.
But you have
like,
so many of your athlete or lifters train the overhead athletes.
Yeah.
Borderline athletes.
No,
Train
did I hear
you-
Bobby?
and
They're not
I
athletes.
see people all the time over there overhead squatting. I see Brian overhead squatting. I see tons of people overhead squatting. So maybe you guys can do it.
Ken.
yeah,
Is that
and-
the challenging part compared to like?
It's really like being able to catch and be stable
Yeah.
in the bottom.
Well, I think teaching from the hang, I think most people can learn how to do a lift from the hang. For those you know what I'm talking about, like the hang is just off the floor. So generally, I would tell you to like start above the knee, and like most people can do that, even if
You
it's
don't have
like
to think as much.
It's not, yeah, you don't have to get into this position. You don't have to get as tight. You don't have to worry about as much going on. There's less to do, and I think a hang snatch is probably a little bit easier because you can just kind of tell people like. Think like you're jumping and throwing it up overhead. Where the hang clean, the catch, a lot of people have trouble getting their elbows up or not hitting themselves in the neck. Different things like that. Where a hang snatch is like, imagine like you're throwing something overhead. Most people can get that down fairly quickly, but a hang snatch catching it almost standing is a very different movement than a snatch from the floor catching it in the hole.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is like, so you can, I mean, in a competition you have to start from the floor. But there's that difference of like you can Olympic lift from above the knee to a completely vertical position to all the way to the floor and in the hole where, like I said again, in powerlifting, you don't have that option. You can't squat it 6 inches high and it be a good lift. You can't not touch your chest because your shoulder bothers you and have it be a good lift. Or deadlift, like you can't not lock it out and it be a good lift. Like where in Olympic lifting you have a lot more
You have a lot more
variable
leeway. You have more
choice.
leeway.
Yeah. And when Brian says like, do you find it more? Is it more or less boring because it seems more monotonous? And it is to a point because you're cleaning
miss
and
more, too.
Well, you're cleaning and snatching all the time because you have to work on the technical. But when you break it down, like you think of all the like in powerlifting, we'll safety squat bar, front squat, overhead squat, pause squat, blah 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 blah. In Olympic lifting, we'll pull from the floor. Right off the floor, below the knee, above the knee, mid thigh. We'll do from the blocks.
You can go hangs, you can go from blocks.
We'll do a pause. We'll do less contact, more like So you take one
You can do a muscle.
one snatch variation. Like so, from the snatch, there's
Because then you
I
can
don't even know.
then you can power all those.
right.
or
There's
you
so
can
many variations of the same
yeah.
movement that
You can power everything.
it's. I don't think that it's boring.
It's super frustrating.
I think maybe boring is the wrong, but frustrating because maybe just for the fact that you probably will miss more in training
I'll say if you-
weightlifting than you would powerlifting.
Right. I say if you're having a bad day in powerlifting, you can still kind of go through the motions.
Because you can muscle up like 80% of your squat probably compared to like
Right.
80% of your snatch.
If you're not having a bad day in Olympic lifting, like it sucks. Right, powerlifting you can bring it back, and almost go through the motions, and yeah, it sucks. It feels heavy. It feels slow. Olympic lifting you can bring it back down, and you still just technically can't get it down. There's days where I'm missing 50 kilos every time I'm throwing it back with my head.
But here's the difference we talked about too is that in powerlifting, if you're having a bad day and 80% feels like a ton, then you're probably not going to go up to 85%. Maybe you're going to stay at 80, or maybe you're going to adjust, drop the reps or drop the sets or go down to 75%. Where in weightlifting, you might miss 50 keys and then hit 100.
Yeah.
And that's the frustration, but also the bigger reward of weightlifting is that you're like, why can't I hit 50% of my max and then PR?
Yeah.
You can't hit 50. If you're trying to squat one day and 50% is just not there, you need to go home. Something's wrong. You're having a bad day. You need to get some sleep. You need to eat. In weightlifting, you miss 50%. Just throw another 10% on. You'll probably hit that. We've talked about how many guys we've seen that some of the best lifters in the world that will miss a weight, add 15 keys, and hit it.
Yeah.
And like, that's never gonna happen out here in powerlifting. Like, if you miss a squat because you're not strong enough, like, you had 15 keys, you're gonna get buried.
That's true.
But in weightlifting, it's very rarely are you not strong enough.
Because it's such a technical.
Right, you're off by a centimeter and you miss the lift. You can't just muscle it up.
Right.
Where if we go back and said, like, if you're doing more of a power version, you kind of can muscle it. Maybe you won't get white lights in the meet, but you can still kind of do it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a very, very different sport. Like I said, we talked about the mindset of coaching. Like, it's different as a mindset of lifter where, like I said, if you miss a lift, shake it off, go again. You'll get it. It's fine. But in powerlifting, you miss a lift. We need to figure out what's going on because you're not going to add weight and keep doing it.
Yeah. So, to your original question,
Yes.
yes. There is a certain beauty in how frustrating it is, even though it sucks.
Yeah, well, I just had the payoff
That's
is bigger.
slightly-
I would say Olympic lifting, like hitting a lift, even coming in and hitting 60 kilos is super gratifying when you lock it. Coming in and squatting 225, I don't care, right? I want a PR every time.
Yeah.
Coming in and having a good session, even at weights I hit all the time, is super gratifying, at least to me, being technically sound.
Well, you
I think
noticeably
it'll be-
feel better. Like,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
that clicks in. Compared, like, you might feel that. We feel the same way with powerlifting, but
I don't know. I feel like the powerlifting culture has changed in the sense that, like, everyone wants to be super strong super quickly. That, you know, versus the like Olympic lifting, because you miss so often that just having a good day, it's like fantastic. Versus in powerlifting, it's like we need to get
hitting,
strong.
Yeah, even going like even like missing like 1 or 2 lifts at like 70% all day is fantastic. You know, a 1 kilo PR is awesome. 1 kilo PR in powerlifting, you're like, the fuck.
Yeah.
That's it. Ryan's coaching. No, just kidding.
Point out real quick that Ryan's coaching got Bobby to the Arnold and then won his first weightlifting meet as well.
It did. Now he's going to coach me in CrossFit.
Two sports.
Speaking of your first weightlifting meet, I don't know if I asked Ryan this about coaching, right? But I don't know if you remember like how you feel or remember how you felt during your first powerlifting meet, and
I do.
how
I went to the
that
bathroom
is
5 times before my opening squat.
and how that was similar to the first weightlifting meet you did. Like, were you like equally as anxious, or
Oh yeah,
it's a different?
100%
Yeah?
same feeling. Yeah.
See, I disagree. I watched you on both of your first meets, and you were.
Yeah.
I was shocked at how together you were for your weightlifting meet.
How together I was?
I was very worried that you were going to miss something in the back room and go over 6.
I don't know if I missed in the back room.
No, you didn't.
If I did, maybe I would.
No, you hit every warm up you did. You went 6 for 6. I mean, obviously, it being your first meet, everything was a PR, but you hit an all-time clean and jerk PR.
Yeah.
Like, you had a very good day where I was very like in powerlifting, and like I said, I was with you for most of your meets, I think, except for the Arnold.
Yeah.
Your one bad meet.
That's true.
Just saying. The one time I wasn't there.
That's true.
You weren't as nervous in the weightlifting meet. You might have felt it, but you weren't as outwardly nervous. And I felt like when that third attempt clean and jerk, in my mind I was like, okay, I'm calling for.
I walked back and I said, yeah, let's go.
The all-time PR, which in powerlifting you would have been like, hell no. You would have said to me, go lighter, and I was like, no, we're doing this. And you're like, yep, okay.
Yeah.
And I was like, who are we coaching right now?
I know.
I put in the attempt, and I was shocked where.
Well, I was never worried of bombing out of a powerlifting meet. We knew we were hitting the first attempt every time. This is like inside. I was like, I could go out there and miss 75 kilos 3 times and bomb out. I didn't put as much expectation on myself either.
it also attributed to the fact that you've done barbell competition at that point for 4 years. At that point, going into weightlifting, it's not the same thing, but you've been on a platform where everyone's watching you and judging you.
That's true.
It was new, but maybe the fact that you have sort of been there before
I've been on a platform with everybody.
compared to the first.
And like you said, like the expectation thing is different too because
I'll never.
you won your first meet. I think you won your second meet. You came in 5th at nationals.
I placed, I placed third at the juniors at Colorado.
Yep, third in the country as a junior.
So I think
fifth in the country as an open the next year, and then went to the Arnold, which is some of the best lifters around. And I know you didn't have the meet that you wanted to do there, but I mean, like, I think going into those meets, when you're ranked that high, a bad meet means you failed to meet expectations. You had even a worse day. Yeah. Your first Olympic lifting meet, we knew you weren't putting up national numbers. We know you couldn't qualify for nationals yet. We got a ways to go. So I think, like I said, I was very surprised at how calm you were in your weightlifting meet, knowing how you are as a powerlifter.
I think approaching the sport, you have to be calm. You can't. You see a lot of people in powerlifting. I'm sorry if I'm going on a tangent here.
No, that's fine.
We don't have a plan. We just go with it.
Yeah.
We just roll with it.
People get what's the deal on this podcast.
All zero of them know what's going on.
Yeah.
I watch this every time. I watch this every night.
Thanks,
I like put it on my phone. I put my phone like next to my pillow, and I like
Go to sleep and listen to nothing.
Right after the theme song, you're out this like.
No, I think your mentality going into an Olympic lifting is just so much different. You have to remain calm. In powerlifting, people come up and they're just amped up and screaming and smacking their chest. And you ever see, like, you always refer to Bucks going out there and he's just like so amped up. I was like, you don't approach an Olympic meet like that. You can't walk out and just get all fired up because you're gonna miss. So maybe just the change in mentality. I can tell you I was falling apart inside.
Well, it is. I mean, even like we had to I think as a group we all went and we had to remember wait a minute, this is not.
Yeah. We can't scream
obscenities at you while you're setting up. We need to adjust as a team and not scream things until after.
Yeah.
So it's a different atmosphere. It felt weird. We were like, this is weird. Yeah. Like, we're not used to this.
You can hear a pin drop when you're lining up.
We're up there. Yeah, let's go, Bob. It just echoed.
It is a very, and we've talked about this before. It's very different. We had a powerlifting meet here once a couple years ago, and one of our other Olympic lifters, Brian Thompson, came in to see the powerlifting meet, and he was wondering what was going on because there was metal playing and people were cheering, and he's like, is it like a break and people are watching? And he walked in and there's people lifting. He's like, why is everyone so loud? I said, that's what powerlifting is. It's like more aggressive, and Olympic lifting is more of that mindset of the thinking man's game, where powerlifting you can just be a little bit more aggressive and go. I'm not saying that you don't have to think, but it is a very different mentality, and it's checkers the chess kind of,
it is.
How much more thought goes into everything.
Do you have any goals?
And you can shout. Oh, you want to go?
I was going to ask you a question.
I was like, you can shout cues during powerlifting.
Right. It's not like going to the coaching. It's like if you're during a heavy squat, I can yell at you, knees out, and you hear that and can process it and shove your knees out and stand up a little bit easier. In Olympic lifting, by the time I say knee, you're already done with the lift.
Yeah. The only yell I get is when I catch the clean, you think about dip and drive. Right.
So I said things to you I gave you a couple of cues before you even walked up to the platform. But then once you got up to the platform, I was quiet and I let it go because what am I going to tell you?
Exactly. Goals?
I was going to ask you, do you have any, goals when it comes to sort of your Olympic lifting career or, where you see yourself in terms of your Olympic lifting?
Right now, no. I have, numerical goals, numbers I want to hit. Right now I have on the board, I'd like to hit a 93 kilo snatch and a 1 and 18 kilo clean and jerk.
And make it to Tokyo.
Why do we want to hit those numbers?
Why?
Yeah.
Well, now the weight classes are done.
You're true. But Steven, if you're watching, that means you just lost.
It's true.
He's probably not watching.
Yeah. No, he won't be watching.
We have 100 people to watch.
But yeah, so 93 and 118 would be my goals, I guess, in the next year or so. I don't know if I have lifetime goals right now. I'm kind of just cruising along, enjoying the sport, enjoying life a little bit. When I was powerlifting, my life revolved around powerlifting, right? It was study for an exam, or no, we got to hit the gym. I got to hit my lifts. Powerlifting's everything. I had such high expectations for myself. Whereas Olympic lifting, I'm kind of just cruising along, enjoying the sport, having fun with it. Will I ever put up numbers to qualify for nationals? Maybe. Probably not. I don't know.
I like how you went prompt and not anyone. I don't know.
I don't know, because I know they raised, like, and that's another difference. It's like Olympic lifting, they just took the qualifying totals and just jacked them, like, through the roof.
Yeah.
You know. I think the snatch, like, I have to hit something stupid for snatch. I can't even deadlift it off the ground, let alone get it over my head.
Well, you know.
But yeah, that's what I got for goals
But-
right now. I'd like if I could go to nationals, I would
That'd be
love
great.
to. That'd be great.
But I also like, and I mean, we are not on topic at all the whole time. We started off with how you're a pharmacist.
Oh,
of
we'll
drugs.
get there. We'll get
Nah,
back there
whatever.
maybe next
But,
podcast or something.
I think one of the things that helped too was your strength, and I've talked about this, your strength coming from powerlifting, I think helped you for weightlifting because I tried to find the post from Glenn Penley. I was telling you about it. Like, there's a lot of weightlifters that don't look like they lift weights, and it's kind of a joke. And like, you came over from powerlifting with a good amount of strength, and you were able to put up numbers faster than most people because you're strong.
Right.
So I remember that day when it was like you were here and Steven and I think it might have been AJ and Brian. There was a bunch of like you loaded up the world record for whatever weight class and like
it was the world record for the 69 snatch.
And like it was just like, okay, see what you guys can do. And Steven had been competing at the highest level the longest, and I think he was able to like deadlift it.
I think he might have.
And like, but you got like a good pull out of it.
Oh yeah.
And like, yeah, you weren't going to snatch it, but like your strength level was so much better than those guys that you, and something that you'd only been doing for a short time, you took a world record that they could move a little bit, and you were able to like actually get some pull into it. And that's going to carry over eventually, like, as you learn the technique better and you get more stable in positions, that strength helps, and I think some people miss that.
It's not all technique.
It's not, yeah.
When you're
Still
far
gotta be
off
strong.
from me, you can't be doing just snatch and clean and jerk. You have to build. That's something that I think a lot of Olympic lifters can take from power lifters is you have to train for strength. Get your squat up. Get your pulls up. I mean, I wouldn't say get your benches high, but get your overhead press or your push press up. Like, get strength. Don't just rely on technique.
Well, I feel like people watch or like look up the workouts for like Olympic level athletes, not realizing that they're like top of the top. So their training like regimen completely different. Like that's the only thing they're gonna do.
Right.
Versus
it's like they want to squat 5 times a week. It's like, why? You don't need to do that yet.
Yeah.
You can make progress. Once you start stalling out, add another squat day. Why go to
go to a pharmacist thing, the minimum effective dose.
There you go.
Yes.
What's the least we can use and still get better?
Exactly.
Because if you're a newbie and you're squatting 5 times a week, where do you go from there?
Exactly.
If you can get stronger on squatting twice a week, ride that out, and then eventually you got to go to 3, or eventually you got to change up something, or go to 4, whatever it is. But like,
eventually
if you start at 5,
14 times a week.
where do you go? Mm-hmm. Like you're gonna go to 6? You're gonna start doing doubles? Like
that's true.
And it goes back to
Actually
that.
turns into you wake up and just start squatting immediately.
It goes back to that. Like
then
you
you'd be
start
doing
building
true
numbers
Bulgarian.
on players. Yeah.
Like 14 sessions a week.
Classic 14 sessions a week.
Unbelievable.
I want to work out 8 days a week.
It's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, day there. It's nice.
Yeah. Special day.
Cool.
Thank you so much for listening. To send in questions, DM me on Instagram.
Podcast.
Syed_likes_stuff. Follow the gym on Instagram at Team GPT. For more information about the gym, visit GleasonPerformance.com and join the team. For online coaching, go to teamgpt.com.